for that. Thank you for the introduction. So let me try and share my screen. And so for everyone, my name is Carter, and I am a developer at the University Technology Office, and I've been working with voice-driven applications for the past few years now. And so let me get some slides up, and we can get started. All right. I'm hoping everyone is able to see some slides. Does that look correct? Awesome. So the purpose of this workshop is to kind of explain what an Alexa skill is, why you might want to build an Alexa skill, and then finally how you would build an Alexa skill. And we'll kind of drive home that how point by doing a demo and showing you just how easy it is to get one built, and we'll have a fully functioning Alexa skill by the end of this workshop. So to get started, what is an Alexa skill? So Alexa skills are like apps. You can enable and disable skills using either the Alexa app or the web browser, and you can think of it in the same way that you would install or uninstall apps on your smartphone or tablet. So skills are voice-driven capabilities, and they add essentially some functionality to your device that it doesn't natively have, kind of in the same way that you can think of an iPhone app. So some examples of skills are down below. You can have an NPR skill that will deliver some content, whether that be news, interviews, information. You can have like leisure and fun skills like a song quiz. You can have smart home skills that can be used to control your house. You might have your lights, your garage, your doorbells, all that good stuff, all smart homed. And there's anything you can think of, you can make into, well, I shouldn't say anything. Most things you can think of, you can make into a skill and build an experience around it. And so for the hackathon, you can create any type or category of skill that you would like. But for the sake of this presentation and due to the fact that we're partnering with Cronkite for this, we'll be kind of focusing on a specific type of skill, which is called a flash briefing skill. And so flash briefings provide a quick overview of news or other content such as comedy, interviews, lists, just 10 minutes or less snippets of content on a either daily or weekly basis. And then a flash briefing skill is what actually provides the content for a customer's flash briefing. And so that might be a little complicated right now, but we'll kind of break that down in the next couple slides. And by the end of this workshop, we will have a fully functioning flash briefing skill. And so it should make even more sense by the end of this. And so how does it work? So a user has a single flash briefing, but within that flash briefing, they can have multiple content sources. So for example, one of those content sources could be the Cronkite News flash briefing. Another could be CNN, NPR. You may have the Jimmy Fallon show or an independent creator. And so then you would say, Alexa, give me my flash briefing. And she would just list off all the ones that you have and give their content for the day or either the week. And so we'll give a little example of what that might look like. And so for those of you who don't know, you can use the Alexa app on your phone in the same way that you can use an Alexa device. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk to my phone as a device and say, give me my flash briefing.
Carter, here's what you haven't heard from your flash briefing. From Cronkite News.
This is your Cronkite News to Go briefing. I'm Elizabeth Pfeiffer. Occasionally on this show, we bring you an in-depth.
And so that is one flash briefing skill that is delivering one piece of content, but you might potentially have many. And so it would go through that and then keep going. Each of those little snippets has to be under 10 minutes, but there's still obviously a lot of content that you can fit in within that time frame. And if you're looking for a great example, I would recommend looking at the Cronkite flash briefing if you're not familiar with it. There's also a lot of other ones, which kind of brings me to this. So who are some of the people who are doing flash briefings? This is by no means an exhaustive list. There's many, many others, but these are just some examples to show that it's not just news agencies, it's also sports and like the Jimmy Fallon show and just different groups. And it can also just be individual people. You'll see that at the end of this, you can very easily create your own. And so why flash briefing? So building flash briefings allow you to reach a new and growing audience of people around the world. As voice tech becomes mainstream, skills have a unique opportunity to reach millions of potential users. So as of 2020, over 87 million people had a smart speaker or were using smart speakers. And then nearly 17% of those people were listening to news or sports on a daily basis. So that shows that you have an audience of millions of people to potentially reach with your content. And then, so now we're kind of getting into that how would you build the skill and what are some of the different ways you can do it? So there's kind of two main different ways you can attack skill building. And originally it started out with just only this way on the right, custom skills. And so it was all code. You had to be somewhat of a developer or at least be comfortable with learning some code. And with that, it's a little more complex, but you do have a lot more control. And there's a few things that you can do with custom skills that you can't do with the alternative method, blueprints. But for this, we will be focusing primarily on blueprints because it's fast, simple, does not require any code. It allows you to build a skill in 5 minutes. You can publish it live on the Alexa skill store. You can get analytics in the same way that you can with a custom skill. So there's definitely arguments for building a custom skill, but for a lot of use cases that fall under blueprints, there's a lot of good arguments for going the blueprint route as well. And so for this presentation, we'll be focusing on blueprints. And for the hackathon, you can go with either approach, but I would strongly recommend if you have no skill building experience prior that you start out at least with the blueprints. And so before you can make any blueprints, you do need an Amazon developer account, which can be created at developer.amazon.com. If you already have a Amazon account that you use at their retail store, if you try and sign in, I believe it just gets automatically converted into a developer account on the back end, so you don't need to worry about any of that. And it doesn't take away from your retail account, so it won't like mess up with that account. You can use the same one for everything. And so here's a couple different types of blueprint skills, one of them being a flash briefing. These are just some interesting ones, but as you'll see as we go into the demo, there's a lot of different options. And so here's a screenshot from what it looks like to create a flash briefing. So there is no code, you're just filling in boxes for the most part in text fields. Again, we'll get into that a little bit more. This is what your flash briefing could potentially look like on an Alexa device. And obviously you could update the icons and the colors and the text and all that to kind of make it unique. And then updating the content within your flash briefing is as simple as going back to the Blueprints website and editing your skill and then pressing update. You can also opt to link an RSS feed, so you don't even need to go through this step of updating your content manually. You can just update your feed and then it will sync. And then finally, there's a couple different options for the finishing step. And if it's something that is meant to be somewhat private, you don't have to publish it. You can share it amongst friends, family, colleagues, or you can choose to publish it publicly on the skill store, meaning that anybody is allowed to enable it. And to have your skill available in that way, it has to go through a certification process. And that time can range depending on the type of skill, how big it is, the content, but it can be as little as 24 hours. For the sake of the hackathon, we're going to be asking everyone to not submit their skill publicly until Friday or after the deadline of the hackathon, just because the certification is a variable that we can't really account for. We can't guarantee that the skill will be available prior to Friday, given the certification process. And so there's some other options that we'll kind of go through on how you can get us a link that will allow us to enable the skill privately. And so more information about the competition can be found here. If you Google Cronkite Audio Hackathon, I believe it pulls up as well. But if you want to take a second to get this link down, feel free. And then some more information. So we're happy to help you get started. Some good ways to get in touch. If it's something that other people will benefit from, strongly encourage you to reach out via the Slack channel Audio Hackathon, and one of us will get you the information you need. If it's something you don't want to share publicly, you're more than welcome to email me at this email or Slack me. This is my username. And yeah, so anything we can do to kind of help you get off the ground and get your idea going, we're more than happy to do. And then yep, so that's the last slide. So we're going to kind of transition into the demo portion of this. But before we do that, I'd like to kind of pause and see if anyone has any questions, anything they'd like to hear more about, anything that was confusing. Okay. And we will keep on moving. So this is the Blueprints website, so blueprints.amazon.com. And so as you'll see, there's a lot of different options, and each of these little cards you can think of as a template. And so some of their featured ones, you might have a Q&A, so you can ask Alexa a custom question like, Alexa, who's the coolest person in the world? And you can program it to say that you are. And so you can have different types of skills. You can build a burn one, and all of these, if you want to look, it'll give a little example of how to create, how to use, and then simple as clicking make your own. And then you can add some burns in here. So again, we're going to be focusing on the flash briefing one for today, but there's plenty of options if you want to get creative and kind of explore. So you'll come down to the flash briefing, click make your own, and we'll start filling in some of the names. So this part always kind of confused me. So there's a flash briefing skill, and within a skill, you can have a feed. And so, for example, the Cronkite News flash briefing is the skill, and within the skill, they may have multiple feeds. Some examples of those feeds may be a sports update, Cronkite News to go, an ASU update, just different categories or subgenres of content within a single skill. And so for this feed name, we'll use a sports example. So we'll call it the sports update. And for category, we'll select sports. And then we'll call our skill all things ASU. So from all things ASU, here's your sports update. And as far as content goes, there's a couple different options. So you can record some text, which is the route or record some audio, which is the route that I would strongly recommend going. It sounds the most professional. It's easier to listen to, in my opinion. Or you can go the text route and just give a blurb of text, and Alexa will read it in her native language or in her voice. But going with the audio route, again, it makes it sound more professional. It kind of separates things too. If you just have Alexa talking to you in her voice all the time, and then she also starts speaking your content, it's kind of hard to distinguish what's what. And so, yeah, if you have the ability and the knowledge, I would strongly recommend recording your audio. And then alternatively, you can also use an RSS feed and link it up that way. And so for the sake of this demo, I don't have anything pre-recorded, but we'll just say this is my awesome sports content. And then we'll add a title of sports updates. What's today? Okay. And then you can choose whether you want either a daily or weekly frequency. We'll go for daily. And then we'll give this a name. And so this is your skill name at this point. And so we said we were going to call it All Things ASU. We click create. And as you click create, you might notice that it'll give you a little warning right here. Alexa is still learning new words. Certain words may not be recognized. Please remove the words ASU. So what it's complaining about right here is saying that it doesn't like this, and it's not sure how to interpret the word ASU. And since it's an acronym, you need to put some periods before it. Otherwise, it's not sure whether it's ASU, ASU, how it should interpret that. So when you say, give me all things ASU, it may not know how to respond properly. So if you just add, yeah, we'll do this, and then that should make it happy. Okay, and so now it's creating the skill. And so now skill is created just like that. We built a fully functioning Alexa skill. And so here's some of the options you have after you get to this point. You can share with others or publish to the skill store. As we talked about previously, for the sake of the hackathon, we're going to go the share with others route. And once you click that, it's going to ask if it's intended for kids under the age of 13. We will say no. And then share all things ASU. There's a couple different methods you can share. We'll just do the copy link. And then on the competition details page, if you just Google the Cronkite ASU or audio hackathon, you'll find it. And then soon that page will be updated with a submission form, and you should be able to just copy this link and paste it in there. And then whoever you share that link with will be able to enable your skill. And the other route is publishing it to the skill store. And then, like I mentioned, it will have to go through that certification process. And once it is, it will be available on the Alexa skill store, and it'll be available for anyone to download. And so just kind of walking through what you might want to do. So say it's live, you have that first little piece of content out there, and now tomorrow rolls around and you need to update that. So now this is my new awesome sports content. Then you go back up, press update skill, and you're good to go for the day. And that may look different too. If you're using an audio recording, you would just upload that audio recording right there. There's a little button, and then showing how it would connect to your Alexa app. You go into your settings, click news, flash briefing. And now it might be kind of difficult to see, but one of the ones that just popped up is sports update, all things ASU. So if I now say, give me my flash briefing.
Carter, here's what you haven't heard from your flash briefing. From Cronkite News.
Skip.
From All Things ASU, here's your sports update. This is my new awesome sports content. That's all for your flash briefing.
And so that was the text that we just put in there. And so as you probably heard, I said skip. And so like I mentioned, you can have multiple feeds. And so we just skipped over the Cronkite feed to get to the next one. And it just spat out the content in Alexa's voice since I just provided text. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for the demo, showing how you might do this for a flash briefing. I know I went pretty quickly. Does anyone have any questions? Did I gloss over something that was confusing, or any ideas that you may have from seeing this?
I think Vanita had a question in the chat.
I'm sorry, I don't have that up easily. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, she just asked in terms of the audio recording, is there an optimum length?
An optimum length?
Mhm.
I'm not aware of like the sweet spot of lengths, but I do know that there are some limitations to it. Like it can't be over 10 minutes. It has to be certain. So here's the documentation. So Yeah, as far as what like the optimum length, like most viewers like prefer to listen to a 3-minute clip as opposed to a 5-minute clip. I don't really have any information or answers to that, but I can tell you some of the requirements and limitations. And so that would be these pieces right here. So like it shouldn't exceed this and it needs to kind of reach these other specifications, but I'm not sure. Have you guys found any kind of sweet spots in your work with the flash briefings as far as what a good length for content is?
Sorry, just ate some granola bar, but we had a grad student do a project that looked specifically at flash briefings. And the recommendations for those were 3 to 5 minutes. However, that could be different than a skill. So I think it kind of depends on what you're looking at, right? Whether you want a skill or you want it to go in a flash briefing. So a skill, I mean, like I'll listen to an entire 60-minute podcast through an Alexa skill. So I don't know that it just kind of depends on what you're hoping to accomplish, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for purpose of the hackathon, are we supposed to do this once, or are we supposed to do it every day this week until Friday?
So the students will come up with whatever skill they'd like to introduce, pitch, right? And that's what we're going to judge. So it's not so much create a skill and like Carter said, we're not getting them necessarily published. It's the idea and like the concept, right?
Correct.
So some of the things that we talked about yesterday, just throwing around ideas, like I mentioned, Elizabeth, like she's really big into Disney, so her eyes lit up and she was super excited about like, oh, like I have this idea for Disney that I could do. But we were also talking about some different ideas as connected to ASU or Cronkite News, and it can even be on a smaller scale. So internally, yesterday we had some producers in the room. So things like pronunciation, right? If we had Alexa, how do you pronounce saguaro? Alexa, how do you pronounce Estrella? You know, like Alexa, stop. You know, so there are certain words, like if we had an Arizona pronunciation guide that we could use even in, you know, Cronkite News, I mean, it would be open to the world, but, you know, things like that might be easier to do, like fantastic. Would love to see something like that. We talked about streaming hot takes on like what shows to binge next. You know, it could be a whole variety of different things.
So it's more like a concept pitch than it is the actual
just something new.
Audio story itself. Okay, that helps to know.
Yeah, could be person to be named later, you know, ALEXA. Where can I find a vaccine today? You know, it could be any sort of like whatever you dream up. And think about how, you know, if you don't have one, you know, what you ask. And oftentimes I always ask for a flash briefing, but you know, sometimes I'll ask for a joke, sometimes I'll ask for a riddle, sometimes I'll ask her to beatbox for me. Have you ever done Alexa, give me a beat?
No, can she really do a really good beat though? That's my question.
Alexa, give me a beat. She's not listening to me right now. It's because
she's mad at you. She's mad at you.
Harshly to her. Alexa, give me a beat. No, she won't do it. But yeah, she will. She'll do a little.
There's some good ones like that too. There's a campfire song. There's a lot of little hidden Easter eggs that you can ask her to give you.
You know, my favorite thing is if you get a song stuck in your head and you just need to get it out, it's just, you just tell her to play the one song and she'll do it. It's a must for me.
It's funny. I know you kind of mentioned vaccines, but that was something I was thinking about. And I feel like I'm always seeing like a news headline saying X amount of new vaccines given or this % of the population. That could be a good opportunity for a flash briefing. I was thinking that would be helpful to have in my flash briefing, to have just kind of a little update on the state of coronavirus as it is kind of rapidly changing.
Yeah. And we put together a graphic every single day about new cases, deaths. We could easily add the vaccination, vaccination doses. That would be a good one. Emma, was that note just for me, or did you mean that for everyone?
Well, I mean, if I share it, then aren't people going to take it?
That's a good point. Okay, we'll keep it under wraps.
So that's why I was like, oh,
Okay.
like, are we discussing ideas? So I was like, well, I have a good idea. So
Happy to brainstorm it with you if you'd like. Yeah, I mean, right now we're just trying to like spark inspiration, I think. Get your brains working and thinking about, okay, I have an idea, like how would I do it? And that's why you're going to use, Carter and Anon and your colleagues maybe to sort of figure that out.
One thing I wanted to point out, I've added most of you to the Audio Hackathon channel. Some of you, I wasn't able to add them just because you're not part of the ASU community workspace. So to join the Audio Hackathon channel, you would have to join that workspace. So if you're not in it, let me know. I'll send you the workspace link. It's just, you'll have to add it and then you can join the Audio Hackathon. Unless, Carter, if you have an easier way of dealing with that.
I don't, and to be honest, I thought everybody, like every student was enrolled in that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about how all the different Slack workspaces work, so I apologize for that, but I thought that was like a common workspace.
Well, what we can do too, Adnan, is I can also, that space
really,
is not connected to Cronkite News, right?
No, and all they would need to do is just join the workspace. I'll just send you the link, and after that, the channel works. I did it with Eva yesterday and it worked. So it was pretty straightforward.
Anyone want to bounce ideas off one another? You can keep your brilliance to yourselves. And here's what's up for grabs: an Echo Show, 3 of them. This retails for more than $100. And it's also what I love about the Echo Show. For us, for those of you in Cronkite News, it's sort of the next step for us is getting video, right? To get the Echoes to play video, to showcase some of our amazing work there. $40 on Amazon. Well, I don't know, maybe the prices are going down.
But this one is CN branded.
Right?
This is CN branded.
Yes, and is it the latest generation, Emma?
well, so the one that I just got, not the new one. I didn't look up the show, but I looked up the Dot, and like there's different models of it, and the fourth generation doesn't look like the one that the third generation looks like the one that you guys are giving out, and that one retails for $40.
Well,
It's
Just
pretty
doing my research.
I was gonna say, especially with those ones, I don't know exactly which one you have in front of you, but it does get confusing because there's the Echo Show 5, 7, 10, and the difference is like the screen size, so holding it up is kind of different. And on top of that, there are the generations that are difficult to tell. Yeah, so I don't know. And there's also deals, you'll see it as 120 one day and then 60 the next, and it's kind of hard. But regardless, they're cool devices to have.
yes. And you're right. I mean, these are the ones we're giving out our third generation. But I will say, like, we got them last year because of the pandemic, it's taken us a while to get them out because it did not go as planned. We had this whole big event that we had planned in the spring, right after spring break last year, and then look what happened. So we had to adjust.
We'll say, Emma, too, I saw that you said it's Echo Dot. So the Echo Dot, the difference is that one does not have a display on it. And so this is a show. So there's an Echo Show and a Dot. And so if you saw the Dot, then yeah, that would be just the audio only version. But
I think, Carter, I had mentioned in like our previous news meeting, I was being goofy and I said something about the Dot being retail value $100, but clearly I was wrong. So that was my bad.
I think you meant because it was Cronkite special, right?
Yeah, that brought the value up for sure. And like I curse Adnan every day because they were all supposed to have stickers on it, but now like I have to put them on myself on these. So so yeah, you get special love that I'm sitting here in my office putting stickers on Echo Dots for you.
I can't wait to see what they come up with on by Friday.
Yeah.
Because Emma just did a nice tease on hers. She goes, yeah, I got a great idea. Ain't gonna tell you yet.
Okay.
Thank you, Carter. So I have your Slack down too, just in case.
Yeah, and I believe the link I just shared is the device that you're holding in front, and the one that we are. Not that price matters regardless. It's a cool device, and yeah, but more just to show what is that does it say 8 or 10? I'm more just looking at the screen.
Yeah, it's 8.
Okay, yeah, so that's the link I just shared. Just to
How
show that
much
this
is that
is,
one?
I think it's 105 right now. It's got it listed as. But regardless of price, they're cool devices. I know it's a good incentive, but yeah, and the ones with screens are nice too. You can have it play like the streaming services, Hulu, Netflix, all that good stuff. You can ask and have it prompt that up. So it's nice in the kitchen and just where your hands are kind of tied up.
What is the Blink Mini, Carter? You know?
Not off the top of my head. Is that like a smart home?
It's
It sounds like one of their smart home oh, so yeah, that's one of their cameras. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Blink is an Amazon company. I may be wrong, but I know for a fact that it works with Alexa. So you'll see a lot of these different smart home devices that are compatible with Alexa. And so that just means that you can maybe say, Alexa, show me the camera, or show me the living room camera. And then if you have a display enabled device, then it'll actually show that right on the screen. And so that's like the doorbells work like that. The lights work like that. You can say, Alexa, turn on the kitchen, and then everything will power up and all that good stuff.
so my dad used to say, turn off all these lights. And then Alexa would do it instead of post to his kids.
Yep, exactly. I will say the lights are one of my favorite like smart home use cases. Being able to be in bed and just say, Alexa, lights off, and have everything power off is pretty nice.
I feel like that's my next evolution in the smart devices. I have not done that yet.
I would say the lights are really...
up, Carter?
What's that?
Do you actually have that set up at home?
Yeah, I have my my apartment set up like that, and I would say probably one of the coolest use case I've seen too is there's something called a Furbo. I think there's a couple other brands too, and it's a smart dog or a smart treat dispenser. It can be for dogs, cats, or whatnot, and it's got a camera inside of it, and it's Alexa enabled, so you can say, Alexa, tell Furbo to launch a treat, and it'll shoot a treat out, and you can see on the camera, and then the dogs will go crazy too. But that one's pretty cool, and you can be away, I guess. But yeah, so there's a lot of different smart devices that are compatible with Alexa, and you can kind of tie into your smart home.
Thank you, Carter. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carter. And Adnan, I was just kidding about the stickers.
Oh, no, that's fine. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me.
Nothing bothers Adnan, you have to admit.
Okay, I think unless you all have any other questions, I think we are all good. Thank you so much for joining us today. Check your Slacks, join the channel. We love, love, love to see your ideas by Friday. Anything else?
Next time I stop by, let's make sure that Christina has Alexa do her beatbox. Okay.
Yes. Or she did, when Carter said the thing about throwing the treats or whatever, she did respond to that one. She started talking to me about that. Okay, well, thank you all. Have a great day. Again, thanks, Carter. Much appreciated.
No problem. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.